And we're on.
Awesome.
Colorado gubernatorial candidate Greg Lopez. Greg, thanks for coming. It's
bet
great
you,
to
man.
have you. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah.
Mike, you know, it's important for us to be out in the community and talking to people, and so thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. For those who don't know who you are, in case they're living under a rock,
Right.
tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bio.
Well, you know, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a veteran, I'm a disabled vet. I spent 4 years in the Air Force, lost 87% hearing in my right ear due to jet engines. But it was in the military that I met my wife, you know, and so it's a good trade-off, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I do have an excuse when she tells me, hey, Greg, are you listening to me? You know, and so I'm a former mayor. I used to be the mayor of Parker, Colorado. I was elected at the age of 27. I was the youngest mayor elected in the state at the time. And I was very fortunate because it was a mayor and the city manager. So all the department heads reported directly to me. And I sat on E470. I sat on Dr. Cog. I learned everything there was to learn about a community and how to grow it and some of the challenges and issues that the community faces every single day.
Yeah, I think you have more executive experience than some people give you
Yes.
credit for.
Yes.
I see that a lot out there.
Right.
And it's just not true. Your resume speaks for itself, I think.
It does, you know, and so to that point, right, I'm the former president of the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also the former president director of an organization that works with corporate America to get minorities into the supply chain. And most recently, I am the former director of the United States Small Business Administration here in Colorado. So for 6 years, I was a voice and face of small business throughout the entire state. And so I am a small business owner, and now I'm running for governor.
Yeah, and you have ran this will be at least your third campaign other than the mayoral campaign, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I mean, I ran for the state senate
Senate,
way back,
And
then
twice now for governor.
right.
Okay. Why do you want the job?
You know, a lot of people ask me that. You know, and it's not. I don't really look at it as a job. I look at it as an opportunity to serve the people. And really, what I believe the governor needs to do is make sure that the state is providing an opportunity for every family and every individual to live a real full life. And what I'm seeing the governor do is he's doing everything but that. You know, he's turning Colorado into California. I believe I have the resume. I believe I can connect with people. I believe that I truly understand the struggles of most hardworking people. You know, I come from humble beginnings. You know, my mom and dad worked in the fields. My dad had a 6th grade education, and he really never learned to read and write. And my mom has a 10th grade education. Yeah. So I've never forgotten where I've come from.
Yeah, well, I've met some highly educated people that didn't go very far in school.
That's right.
So, to that end, I mean, the biggest challenge, obviously, is getting Pelosis out of office.
That's right.
He's going to be tough to beat.
He is.
And how is the Colorado GOP, I mean, the leadership? Are they on board? Are they helping you? Are they talking with you? I mean, Ken Buck, Randy Corcoran, Joe Jackson.
Right.
Are those guys going to help you?
You know, it all depends on what you consider help, right? My hope is that we just keep them at bay, okay? Mm-hmm. And that they just kind of watch what happens. I'm going to tell you, my biggest challenge is not beating Governor Polis, because if I make it to the general, I'm going to beat him. There's no question about it.
I love that.
Okay? It's getting through the primary. And to your point, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Mike, whether the Republican Party leadership is ready for an individual like myself, okay, to be the person that's carrying the message, to deliver it to all the people across the state. But that's okay, because I know the grassroots is behind me. You know, I know the grassroots is totally supportive of my efforts to be the next governor. And everywhere I go, I can tell you that the grassroots are saying, Greg, we made a huge mistake when we did not vote for you last time.
Well, I'm worried that they're going to throw another Walker Stapleton in.
They will.
Only this guy, it might be a guy named Ken Buck or Bob Beaupre.
And they will. You know, and at the end of the day, but here's the thing. I learned a lot about not being successful the last time around. I can tell you this. Ken Buck, Bob Beaupre, it really doesn't matter who they put in front of me. They're not going to win. Look.
You're talking about the primary.
I'm talking the primary.
Okay.
And even beyond the primary, okay? One of the things that the GOP does very well, okay, is they only focus on the short game. They look to see who can actually win the primary amongst the Republican Party candidates. They don't focus on, can this candidate actually win the general? Okay? And so I can tell you this. We must have a candidate. If we're going to win and make Governor Pelosis a one-term governor, we must have a candidate that can not only win the Republican vote, we must have a candidate that can win at least 50% of the unaffiliated vote.
Which I believe is the largest voting bloc in Colorado.
It is. It is. There's 1.1 million
Yeah.
registered unaffiliated voters. And we must have a candidate that can win 18% of the Democrat vote. If we can't win 18% of the Democrat vote, if a candidate can't, we're not going to beat Polis. It's that simple.
Well, you know, you're right, but what scares me about that kind of talk, and I'm not sure that this pertains to you, because I think that your creds as a conservative,
Right.
From what I know about you, you're a true blue conservative.
Yes.
So how do you win them over? Because the tendency in politics is to move to the left in order to win those voters over. And I feel like what you need to do is articulate conservative values, because those are American values.
Yeah.
That's the thing that candidates can't get across to the voter.
That's right.
You know, freedom, liberty, the ability to go to work, the ability to raise your family without the government boot on your neck are American values.
Yes.
So is that what you hope to do, to get that message to those voters that typically may not be inclined to vote Republican?
Yes. Look,
Okay.
I've been out there talking to a lot of different groups and organizations. Just to give you an idea, the last time I ran, and I was on the primary ballot, a lot of people don't know that the Democratic Party would invite the Republican gubernatorial candidates to the Democratic gubernatorial debates.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was the only Republican candidate that would go to the Democratic gubernatorial debates. Okay?
I see.
I went to 7 of them. Okay? Now, my team and a lot of people would say, hey, Greg, why are you going? You're not going to get a single vote out of there. And you may be attacked by not only the candidates, but the crowd. My rebuttal, my response was, look, we must go in there to change the narrative of who we are and who we fight for.
Yeah.
Now, I went to 7 of them. Okay, Mike? Never got booed, never got heckled, never got mistreated. The candidates even forgot that I was a Republican, because they would say, I agree with Greg. I agree with what he's saying. And what I really...
They're thinking, who is this guy?
Exactly. Now, I would get up. Imagine this, Mike. I would get up when it was time for me to introduce myself. And I'd be in a room with 300 to 400 Democrats. And I would get up and I would say, the only difference between me and everybody in this room and everybody up here is I'm a Republican. And the room would go quiet. Okay? But when I would come down, people would say, they would come up to me and say, hey, Greg, thanks for coming. Because we've always been told that you guys don't come because you guys don't care. Right? And then others would come up to me and say, hey, Greg, how can you be a Republican? You don't even look like one. Yeah, and my answer was, I don't know what a Republican is supposed to look like, but can I ask you a couple of questions? And they would say yes. I would say, do you believe in abortion? And they would say no. I say, do you believe that if you work hard for your money, you should be able to keep as much of that money as possible? And they would say yes. I said, do you believe that you and your family should be able to live the American dream the way you want to live it, without government telling you how to live it? And they would say yes. And I would say, you better be careful, because you're starting to sound like a Republican.
Yeah. These, like we were talking about, these conservative values transcend
they
party
do.
lines.
Look,
it's a little bit like Trump's line, what do you have to lose?
Right.
He went into districts that were heavily Democrat, districts that people thought he was wasting time in, and he didn't move the needle much.
Right.
But he moved the needle some.
Yeah.
And that's important.
It really is. Look,
yeah.
I'm going to go into Denver. I'm going to go into Arapahoe County. I'm going to go to Adams. I'm going to go to Jefferson. I'm going to take away the San Luis Valley, and I'm going to take Puebla away from Polis. Okay?
Man, I like that talk. Let's do it.
Okay? And the reason being is because the minority communities, they're conservative. They just don't know that. Okay?
I agree.
And
I
so,
agree with you.
Until they hear and see someone that they can connect with, and they say, you know what? I like what he's saying. He's true about family. It's true about faith. It's true about us being hard workers. We just want an opportunity. And we want government to stay out of our way. Those are the individuals that are going to start voting and following me. Right now, Mike, my wife is, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. But she,
Well, I was hoping she'd come, to be honest. I was hoping she'd be here.
she likes to follow our Facebook page, our campaign Facebook page. But here's what she loves to do. She loves to go in and see who's liking the Facebook page.
Oh, I see.
And she's seeing more and more Hispanic last names that are following us.
But not necessarily commenting.
Yes.
Right.
Okay? They're following us and they're giving us a thumbs up. These are people that are not necessarily politically inclined, right? Yeah. We look at their Facebook page, we look at their friends. None of their friends are our friends, but they're starting to wake up.
Well, and they think they're supposed to vote a different way.
That's right.
Because that's what they've heard.
Exactly.
That's the way their parents voted. That's the way they've been told they're supposed to vote.
And let me tell you this. You know what? I come from humble beginnings, like I said. Okay, I didn't realize the difference between parties until I became a mayor. Okay, and before then, people would say, "Well, Greg, what are you?" You know, it's like, "Well, I'm a Democrat because my mom and dad are." That was it.
Yeah.
Right? There was no other explanation. Now, my parents always told me, Greg, the Democrats are for the poor and the Republicans are for the rich. That was the mantra, right? There was like, you don't need to know anything more.
It's still the mantra and it's absolutely false.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Now, with those people that believe that, right, I'm a totally different person and it turns their world upside down. Now think about it for a minute. Governor Polis is worth $600 million in net worth. Okay?
Well, I thought it was a bit less than that, but suffice to say he is a multi-millionaire.
Yes. Okay. He wrote a $23 million check out of his own bank account to become governor.
I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got he's got a degree from Harvard. Okay.
He's no dummy.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at if the Democrats are for the poor, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm lucky if my net worth is hitting $300,000. Okay, I don't have a 4-year college degree. I have an associate's degree. Okay, but to your point, right? I've been blessed and I have a lot of executive experience in my background. And so when I tell people, hey, look, we need a governor that people can actually see and relate to, that truly understands the struggles of a small business owner, right? Understands that, you know what, we have to make payroll. And if we don't make payroll, we don't pay ourselves. We have to pay our employees first, right?
Yeah.
And the governor has no idea what that means.
He doesn't.
Okay. And that's why he shut down small business. Okay. So when I talk to Democrats and unaffiliated voters, they like what I'm saying because they understand that, wait a minute, he's down to earth. He's sincere. He's authentic. He can relate to all the challenges that we face, right? And he's not talking to us like he's a politician. He's talking to us like our best friend down the street and trying to solve problems. And to your point, we're all connected. We all want this. We want a good job. We want our kids to be educated. We want to live in a safe community. And we want to believe in the American dream.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? And we want to be able to have our voices heard. You know, our freedom of speech, the Constitution. You know, I carry the Constitution with me everywhere I go. And the reason I carry it is because these are the most important documents that our country has ever embraced. And these are the freedoms that we must honor. And we're losing it.
And it is not a living document. And the idea that, especially on a federal level, U.S. Senate and Congress is doing as much damage to that document as they can. And they're doing it rapidly under this new administration.
Yeah, they are. Look, they're trying to erase the Constitution of the United States. And to your point, right? They're trying to say it's outdated. It doesn't apply today. The founding fathers had no idea, you know, how far we were going to go.
Yeah, they didn't know we would have automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons.
Which is
doesn't matter.
No,
doesn't matter.
The principles, right?
That's right.
It's about the principles that are here.
Yeah.
Right. And these are the things that we need to fight for: is our principles and our freedoms and our rights.
Yeah, the insights in these documents. I mean, not to get into philosophical debate, but they were divinely inspired.
Look,
no question.
No question at all.
This country was meant to be for a reason. This experiment that appears maybe coming to an end, or at least certainly a big challenge moving forward.
Yep.
So, with that, the executive orders, Polis, I believe, has written some 260 plus executive orders.
Right.
Most of those deal with the emergency powers. How far has he overstepped, and what would you do as governor to limit those powers to rein them in?
Well, I'll tell you this. Okay, first of all, he's done a huge overstep. And I'm going to tell you this, and you probably know this as well. He is never going to remove the state of Colorado under emergency status.
I don't believe so.
He won't. Okay. Why? Because he has the full authority through an executive order. Now, if you read the Colorado Constitution, okay, it says that every 30 days. Okay. So he's already ruined the spirit and the intent.
But all he has to do is renew the orders every 30 days.
Right. But
correct me if I'm wrong, in Colorado there is no legislative oversight or limits on that. He can simply renew these orders every 30 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there is a way for the legislature, okay?
Not this legislature.
Not this one.
Right.
To vote and say no.
Okay.
We're going to remove that authority from the governor, okay, because he's used it more than what the spirit and the intent of the law was, right? Because the spirit and intent of the 30 days was, look, there's a major fire or there's a major storm, okay? Water lines are down, sewer lines are broken, electrical lines are down. And so he's got 30 days where he can mobilize and make quick decisions based on the well-being of a community. Now, when I was at SBA, I was always involved in an emergency preparedness. So anytime there was an emergency, SBA got involved in it. So I understand all the complexities of how do you deal with a disaster, okay? And so the legislature could come in and say, you know what, we're going to take this over, Governor. Nobody's life is in danger, okay? Now, and so they could vote to stop all these executive orders, but to your point, they won't, okay? Now, as governor, I'm going to revamp that whole statute and say that the governor can only extend it maybe twice. Maybe. Okay? I'm going to talk to the legislature.
Without a full vote of the legislature?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Right, which means 60 days.
Okay.
Okay? Maybe. Okay? Because I need to look at this to say, okay, what is the ramifications? But never would I say the governor should be able to extend it beyond 60 days without the support of the legislative body. It's like saying the president, I'm going to go to war. I'm taking the whole country to war, and I'm not even going to ask Congress if they can declare war or not. Okay? And what he's done, he's declared war. The governor has declared war on small businesses, on rural Colorado, right? On our lifestyles, and mandating our kids not to go to school, right? When you look at this, there's reasons why we have representatives elected. And if he was a true governor and a representative of the people, and he's forgotten that he works for the people, he would sit down with the legislature and he would say, guys, gals, what should we be doing here?
Yeah, but I think he's simply a big government guy.
Yes.
Like you said, he doesn't know what it's like to have to make a payroll. So he has all of these kinds of things. But I think more than that, he thinks, look, we can shut businesses down. They're going to feel a little bit of pain, and the almighty government can swoop in and save them.
That's right.
And that's not going to work.
No.
Mike,
he claims he's saving lives, right? We've heard that time and time again.
I don't think he is.
I totally agree with you.
I think he has, and I don't mean to overstate this, and I don't think I am. I think he has cost lives.
He's destroying families.
At a minimum.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to tell you, being the former director of SBA, okay, when he shut down small business, he shut down over 600,000 small businesses across the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
30% of them will never open again.
That's
and these small business owners, they invested all their savings. Some of them took a second on their home, or their families and friends gave them money so that they could fulfill that dream, and he just snatched it away. Okay?
Yeah, those who understand the entrepreneurial spirit, what it takes, the sacrifice, the hard work to start a small business from scratch.
Yeah.
I'm a small business owner.
Right.
My dad did a lot of the hard work in the late 70s.
Sure.
And I appreciate that. But I do know what it's like to struggle to build a business, to get through recessions, to do these kinds of things. And to have the government, not the virus,
Right.
the government destroy that.
Totally agree with you. Look, think about it for a minute. I would challenge the governor. Run the state of Colorado with a 60% cut in your budget. Because that's what he asked everybody else to do.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to limit how many customers you can bring into your establishment. And some of you, we're going to say you're non-essential. How dare you say they're non-essential? You know, this is how they feed their families. This is how they provide food and make sure that they can pay their bills.
Yeah.
Right?
Every job, every worker is essential.
Everyone is essential. Right?
Yeah.
And so I would challenge him. Run the state with a 60% cut in the budget. Okay? And he's going to tell you, I can't do it. Well, what makes you think a small business owner can do it? He's so detached from the reality of small business that he thinks that as long as your door's unlocked, you should be able to be successful.
Yeah.
He has no idea it's based on customer counts.
And then they come up with brilliant ideas like, you can't, landlords can't
Evict you. Right.
Your leaseholder can't evict you, these kinds of things. There's somebody on top of that has to pay that mortgage, that rent. So another boneheaded idea, really.
It really is. Look, it's a domino effect, right? These owners of these buildings, of these shopping centers, or of facilities that people are leasing, because very few business owners actually own the building while they're operating out of, right? Restaurant owners.
And if they do,
bars.
they've worked very, very hard and paid a lot of mortgage on that building.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so if the landlords aren't able to collect, that means they can't pay their bankers.
Right.
Right? Because everybody is leveraging, their assets because
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to make their money work harder for them. And so for them not to recognize that at some point you're going to hurt the banking institutions, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at this, you really wonder, why is the governor so misguided? Why is he so short-sighted?
That's what I was just going to ask you. Why did he do it?
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. We talked about it earlier. He is a very smart individual, but he has that weakness of knowing too much because he looks at data. Okay, everything works on paper. You and I both know that, right? You can put together on paper and it's going to work great. You go out and feel, and it may be not going to apply because the elements or the conditions shifted.
Yeah, sometimes the engineer draws something that the carpenter says, that ain't going to work,
Exactly.
but I can fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so he's looking at data and never really evaluating how are my decisions going to impact the lives of families across the entire state of Colorado.
Well, and honestly, I don't have all the information in front of me, so I don't know how much I want to get into it. But I think that his data was handpicked also.
It is.
This data was manipulated and arranged in such a way that no matter what, he looks like he was right.
Right. Well, here's the thing, right? It's a matter of, are people really studying the data? Okay? I've studied the data of the whole COVID thing.
Not to interrupt you, but I have seen you do some Facebook Live, some social media live things, and you really have.
I have.
You have.
And
you come with the facts.
Yeah. And, and I encourage people, go look at the data. Do the math.
Yeah.
Right? Don't listen to me. Just look at if there's 5.8 million people, right? And we've tested over 2 million. And out of those 2 million, we have maybe 40,000 have tested positively, right? And out of those 40,000, only we've had 11,000 predominantly be seen in a hospital. And out of those 11,000, about 3,000 have passed away. Follow the numbers, do the percentages.
Not a public emergency.
Exactly. And when
it's a tragedy,
right.
It's a horror, and I think that it was largely unavoidable. We could get into the bigger scale, but essentially we can say that the tragedy of COVID was unavoidable.
Right.
The tragedy of small businesses being shut down, people losing their livelihoods, kids living in despair, that was not unavoidable. No. That was government caused.
It was. People died alone.
Yeah.
You couldn't attend funerals. You couldn't get married. I mean, all the things that make up a community, they took away.
Yeah.
and said, you can't do this anymore. I mean, he was telling us we can't visit with our families during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know?
Now we've got Biden saying if we behave,
right,
maybe 4th of July we can roast a hot dog in our backyard together.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what America's about.
Absolutely not.
You know, and
it's scary.
It really is. Look.
And what's scary is the amount of people that are on board.
Right.
I'm so disappointed in my fellow man. And I like to think that they are just not. Number one, they've been scared through propaganda, very effective propaganda. Yes. And we shouldn't have propaganda. We should have information.
Right.
The health departments, these regulatory agencies, they do serve a purpose. That purpose should be, we have a virus. It's a novel virus. We haven't seen it before. It makes certain people sick. Truth, factual information. Here's what we think you should do. But then it ends there.
Right.
And people make their own decisions with real, accurate, truthful information.
Yes. Look, they've created a moral panic.
Yep.
Okay?
Global.
Yes. And here's the thing. When people say, well, Greg, what is a moral panic? Think about this. The moral value that they're saying that we potentially could violate is the taking of a life. Nobody wants to be responsible for taking anybody's life, but they can't prove that. You know,
right.
They can't say, hey, Greg, because you didn't wear a mask, you know, or you were doing something, you caused Mike's death. Excuse me? You know?
Well, they're trying to say that.
Right.
For the first time in history that I know of. Maybe they were doing it in 1918.
Right. No, you're right. Look.
But they are.
Yeah, they are. That's the moral panic.
We've never blamed people because somebody got the flu.
Right.
And I'm not saying that SARS is the flu.
Right.
We're just comparing some similar things. Right. We have never said, you know, that dirty, rotten scoundrel gave everybody the flu. We just said, you know, I got it too, darn it. Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting thing that has happened is now, and of course we have the social media enforcers, the Karens out there and all this kind of stuff, but it is really a blame your fellow man thing that's happening, and it's really, I think, just kind of sad.
It is. Look, they never tell you, right? It's like, well, here's how many people we tested, here's how many people tested negative, and here's how many people tested positive. Why? Because the numbers of the people that tested negative are way too larger than the ones that tested positive.
Yeah, that's not scary data.
Exactly.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they only want you to hear what they want you to hear. And the media is promoting it, right? The politicians are promoting it, right? And they'd love to use these terms, experts. The experts are saying this. The experts are saying that, right?
But only the experts that are handpicked by the globalists and the organizations that they want, because there are plenty of scientists, doctors, researchers out there who have a dissenting opinion about a lot of these kinds of things.
Right.
And of course, they got shut down quickly.
Right.
When the San Bernardino doctors got together and discovered that anywhere from 10 to 50 times the number of people in that county in California probably had already been infected and recovered, they wanted that shut down immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not. You're right. Believe the science. Oh, well, no, only this science that we believe in.
Exactly.
It's very frustrating stuff.
It is, you know, and it is scary. You know, it really is scary because, like you said earlier, a lot of people aren't understanding what's going on. You know? Yeah. And I think it's predominantly because, you know what, their lives have not been severely impacted. They're still getting a paycheck. They still go to work, right? They're still living life.
The essential workers, or the government workers,
And so they're not worried or thinking, my liberty's being taken.
Teachers who, and I don't think it's the teachers, but the teachers' union certainly doesn't want them back to work. I think the teachers probably do, but the unions, they do not.
Exactly.
So, not to spend too much time on COVID, but who did it right? I mean, obviously, we all know that some governors became famous. You've got Newsom versus DeSantis. You've got Abbott versus Cuomo, and you look at the data sets in those states, virtually identical.
Right.
And honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I think Kristi Noem is the only governor who should keep her job.
Yep.
Even DeSantis, who and Abbott, Texas is a little bit more restrictive than people think it is, because Abbott publicly has been sort of walking the line. But who did it right? I mean, it sounds like obviously you agree with me. I think
I'm with you. Look, I mean, it's easy, right, to be the armchair quarterback after a while, right? But I think any true elected official that really cares for their community would allow the community to make their own decision, right? And if the community said, well, I want to lock down, okay, if that's what you want to do. Now think about this for a minute, Mike. If our president at the time would have said to the entire country, I'm shutting you guys all down, all 50 states, you think Governor Polis would have been okay with that?
That's an interesting question.
Right? My gut says that Governor Polis said, no, this is my state.
Isn't that the hyper-partisanship that we're living in right now?
Right?
Yeah.
And yet, it's okay for him to shut down 64 counties across the state, right? And not worry about Montezuma County, La Plata County, Washington County, any of those. He's worried about the urban corridor, right? Yeah. And so here's what I want the urban corridor to do. And because of that, I need everyone to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And the people in the rural areas cannot survive as much as the people in the urban corridors because of the population.
Well, have you seen any of the videos of Polis going out to Fort Morgan and Sterling?
I want to be, and then he does this proclamation, right? Meet out. I mean, really, of all the things that a governor should be focused in on, he decides to do that. I mean, we know why he's doing it. It's not because it's in the best interest of the state.
It's a pet project for First Gentleman Marlon Reese.
Exactly.
And I know a little bit about Marlon. He's a good guy with a good heart, and he's just dead wrong about almost every single position he has. On society.
I totally agree with you. And so this Saturday, right? I'm going to be in Brush, Colorado. I'm going to be in Akron, Colorado.
And so Saturday, that is the
meet-in. That's where we're all going to be eating meat. I don't know how many pounds I'm going to gain. And I'm going to end my day in Sterling, Colorado. Okay? Because when a governor is trying to tell the people, right? I mean, he's now trying to tell us what to eat. He's telling us what we should wear, right? A mask, right?
Yeah.
And before long, now he's saying, I need you all to stick a needle in your arm.
Yeah.
Where's it going to end? And if we don't change the course of our state, we're going to be California as a state itself.
Yeah.
Okay. They're attacking Tabor, right? They're ignoring all the wishes of the people. When we vote for something on a ballot, like we said, leave the oil and gas industry alone.
They find another way to get it through.
Exactly.
Same with Tabor. They just raise fees and they don't call it a tax.
Exactly. Right?
Yep.
So, and so they're going to do whatever they want. Now, we have to recognize we have a role to play. We as people, this is our country, right? We need to stand tall and say, no, this is not what we are all about. That's not what America's about. And that's why I'm running for governor, because I believe every voice should be heard. Every voice in every 64 counties, not just the urban corridor. That's what a governor should be doing.
Absolutely.
And now he's violated his oath of office, as far as I'm concerned, right? He stood up on the Capitol steps and he took an oath. I support the Constitution of the United States. I support the Constitution of the state of Colorado. I support the laws of the state of Colorado, and I will fulfill my duties as governor to the best of my ability.
To all the people of Colorado.
Right. Well, we know that to the best of his abilities, there's at least 365,000 people that signed the recall petition that said, we don't agree with the best of your abilities.
Yeah. Do you know Lori, by the way?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And so now on July 1st of 2020, the Colorado Supreme Court voted unanimously that he had violated the Constitution of the state of Colorado when he tried to pass an executive order that would allow petition gatherers to get petition signatures electronically.
Right.
And the Colorado Supreme Court said you cannot amend the Constitution.
Right. You're a part of the executive
branch. Right. Through an executive order. Yeah. So right there, he violated his oath about supporting the Constitution of Colorado. In November of 2020, the United States Supreme Court voted 6-3 against him when he was treating religious organizations in a manner where they were shutting down, okay? And he was treating them differently.
Differently than Walmart. And
Exactly.
Big corp.
Right.
Yes.
And now, a lot of people don't know this, but even the laws of Colorado, there is a law that deals with conservation easements, where landowners can put a conservation easement on their property, get a tax credit, and that means that they're not interested in developing it. Okay, these are big ranches.
Where the landowner can
The
do
landowner
this. Okay.
can do it. In exchange, the state will give them a tax credit. Well, the state's reneging on that tax credit,
Aha.
and they're saying, we're not going to recognize that conservation easement, and we're not going to give you the tax credit, but you can still not build on it. Now, what kind of governor would renege on the laws?
Who would violate a contract? Yeah, honestly.
Those that have no interest,
Yeah.
unless their own personal agenda. You know, and people need to wake up. You know, and I've been traveling the state. I talk to a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you, people are ready for a change, and they're looking.
Is that what you're seeing out there?
Yeah. Look, I have the Hispanic community is reaching out to me, and they're asking, Greg, is it true you're running? Because if you are, we're going to support you. We're going to make sure you become governor of Colorado. You know, and so there's a lot of groups and organizations that traditionally are not open to Republican candidates, but when they see me or they hear of me or they meet me, they realize, you know what, this guy, his focus is to represent all of us, not just the people that vote for him, but the people that don't vote for him. And I'm the only Republican candidate, Mike, that can stand up publicly and say, I went to the Democratic gubernatorial debates because I cared, not because I was looking for a vote, not because I was looking for support. I went because I wanted to hear the concerns.
You want to listen to everybody.
Exactly. Even those that were not going to vote for me.
And you want to bring, like we said earlier, you want to bring the conservative message, that message that transcends race and gender and politics.
And Governor Pelosis
if it
cannot
can be
deny
articulated properly.
Yep.
Interesting. I'm glad to hear all this. So in 2016, Kyle Clark kind of got you in a gotcha moment in one of the debates. I don't know if you remember this, but he basically accused you of not having rigid policy decisions. And you said that you prefer to weigh the moment, you prefer to take in all of the information and make decisions based on your values and your character.
Right.
Have you thought any more about that? I mean, do you think it's important? And your website does outline your policy positions pretty well. But what do you think of that? Was he wrong? And have you evolved in that at all? Have you decided that you really need to be more rigid on policy decisions, or do you still think that it's more of a values-based decision and a game time decision based on the facts of the ground as to how you'll govern and how you handle situations in Colorado?
I can tell you this. Kyle Clark has never been an elected official. Okay? He sits on the stands. Okay?
Yeah.
And he tries to call the plays.
He is a semi-elected golden boy.
Right. You know, and so when I was saying, look, you must take all the information together, okay, and try to make a good informed decision to the best of your ability, right? Yeah. That's all we can expect from anyone, okay? I can make the hard decisions. Yeah. You know, and I am not one to make decisions by committee. Yeah. I am one that's willing to bring in information, and if I say I need a deadline, I need to know within the 48 hours any information that I need to consider. Okay? Yeah. And I will make strong, quick decisions. I did it as mayor. And that's what Kyle doesn't want to talk about.
I thought you answered the question well. Yeah. And honestly, to me, I mean, I think we can sit here and talk about policy all day long, and it basically divides down party lines.
Right.
Character, values, that's when you really know how a guy's going to govern, how a guy's going to react to certain situations. And so I actually thought you answered that question very well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and Mike, if I make a misstep because of the information I got, I mean, you're a small business owner.
You'll correct it.
Yeah. You know what? Because I may get more information 2 days later.
Yeah.
Had I had that information prior to, I probably would have shifted my decision.
Yeah, that's not a character flaw.
No.
And the media and pop culture wants to define it as a character flaw. And it can be if it's an obvious flip-flop.
Look,
I mean, we see people who
But here's the
do
thing.
things based on the audience that's in front of
Right.
them. That's not the same
No.
thing. That's not what you're saying.
No, because
Yeah.
I will always show the facts.
Yeah.
Right? I will explain.
Here's why.
Here's why. Okay? Now, at least people will say, well, at least he told us and he showed us new information. Right?
Yeah.
Versus just saying, well, the winds have shifted. My poll numbers have gone down.
Right.
So I need to shift again. I don't fly with the wind. Because I'm there as a representative of the people. Right? And they get to decide 4 years later
Yeah.
whether I did a good job or not.
That's right.
Right? And I can tell you when the recall happened, right? People are saying, well, this ain't right. I said, well, think about this for a minute. The governor works for the people. The people selected him. Okay? A lot of people say, well, he was elected. I say he was selected because there were 2 finalists for the position.
Yeah.
And just like when you hire someone, you decide which is the better candidate to do the job.
Yeah, and let's face it, not to beat up on Walker
Right.
Stapleton, but he was hardly a candidate.
Right.
Most people didn't even know he was running, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Look.
mean, I really fault again, not to be too hard on the GOP leadership,
Right.
who you may need more than I do, but they put a guy out there that with some name recognition, and I think set him up to fail. Not that they intended that he
Right.
would fail, but they knew he didn't have much of a chance.
Right.
And that was an election cycle that they just didn't care. If they'd ran a Greg Lopez, I think they would have liked the results a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that's what's going to happen this time around.
I hope so.
Our finest hour is going to be when we elect a Republican governor in 2022, and his name is Greg Lopez, because we're going to change the course of where Colorado is going. And we're not going to be California, and we're not going to be the government is overreaching and bringing a heavy hand on people. We're going to be the government that recognizes and respects the people's wishes as it pertains to the Constitution of the United States and our education and our small business and transportation corridors, and someone that's out there talking to the people. You can't be a good public servant if you're not keeping your hand on the pulse of the state.
Right, and not just the big business leaders and the people who have special interests in mind,
Right.
not the people's interest in
Yeah.
mind.
Look, I've talked to corporate America. I know how they think, right? And when they're looking at, they see us as consumers. They don't see us as producers. They see us as consumers,
That is very true.
right? And so it's like, as long as they're able to continue to get revenue stream, their cash flow, that's what they're interested in, right? Us being small business and working out here, we're producers. We're producing stuff,
Yeah.
right? And we need to respect the hardworking people of Colorado, because that is the
Absolutely.
heart and soul of our state. Without the hardworking people out there working every single day, Colorado is just nothing more than a fake facade.
Yeah.
Because corporate America is not going
The
to
plumbers, the electricians, the ranchers,
Yep.
the cattlemen,
Yep.
On and on and on. People in the energy sector.
Yep.
We've got a very diverse economic state that certain forces seem to want to destroy.
Yeah.
So there is so many people that are hurting right now because of layoffs, because of a lot of these things that we've discussed, because of uncertainty. People are worried about the future. What do you say if Greg Lopez becomes governor? What assurance, what words of confidence can you give people that there are brighter days ahead, that we're going to get through this and that our future is bright?
The words I would share with them is, look, I'm going to make sure that we never shut down the state again, okay? Small businesses need to thrive. Families need to be able to provide for their families, hardworking people. And we're not going to pull the rug out from under you. Whatever situation may arise, I'm going to lead with a steady hand. I'm not going to be looking at just the data, and determining, well, this is what the numbers say. And you and I both know, data in, data out. Whatever you put into that model, it's going to dictate what comes out of that model, right?
Yeah.
And so I always remember, you remember Y2K?
Oh, sure.
Right?
The world was going to end then, too.
Right? The experts, right? All the experts were saying, hey, computers don't understand how to read 00.
Yep.
Right? And so you're going to lose all your money. The finance industry, the markets are going to crash because all of a sudden.
And for you youngsters out there, there was real fear about
There was.
this.
Yeah.
It actually existed.
Yeah. Millions and millions of dollars were spent.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all waiting for midnight. And nothing happened.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the experts said, well, they kind of.
It worked. The computers were fine. Yeah, we don't know how it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will lead with a steady hand. But most importantly, I'm going to work with county commissioners, mayors, the legislatures, and making sure that we all agree with the decision that is coming out of the governor's office. Okay? Because we don't want a tyrant, and we don't want someone that arbitrarily by themselves is making decisions for the entire state.
Yeah.
That's not the way the balance of powers is supposed to work. Right?
On that note, though, one other thing, what we've learned, I think all of us in America, is that the governor can make these edicts, and I think a lot of people thought, well, so what? It doesn't matter. He doesn't have the authority to do it. But it's the regulatory agencies, the bureaucrats that do have real power,
Right.
that really did go in and enforce these edicts. How do we limit their power, the regulatory agencies? How do we say to the health departments, look, you can't
Right.
show up at somebody's business on an edict, something that wasn't passed by the legislature, not a law. At best, it's a city ordinance or a county ordinance.
Right.
How do we limit their power? Because they're the real scary ones. Polis can make these decrees,
Right.
and again, I think a lot of people thought, well, so what? There's no force of law behind it. Turns out there was.
Yeah, look.
And maybe there isn't. Maybe we just haven't fought them far enough to the Supreme Court to figure it out. Maybe they are wrong to do it, but they're doing it.
Look, the most powerful people in government, and people are starting to find this out, are not the elected officials.
Right.
Right? They're the bureaucrats.
Yep.
They're the ones that are not elected. Right? They get to interpret whatever legislation comes through. Right? They work with their attorneys and they say, this is what we believe we need to do in order to honor the spirit of what the law says.
Yep.
Right? Now, here's an interesting thing. Just like you can use executive orders to do something, don't forget, President Obama used executive orders to stop the bureaucrats from enforcing any of the laws.
Right.
So it works both ways, right?
Yeah.
But we must limit the authority of the bureaucrats because
I'd like to see legislation sponsored and passed that does limit their
Yes.
their reach.
right, and
I'm not, I'm certainly not an anarchist. There is a role of, your health department has a role to play.
Sure.
Government has a role within that Constitution, and obviously the state Constitution. And
here's the
I
thing.
believe in government, limited constitutional
Yes,
government
but here's
as
the
it
thing.
was intended.
due process. Okay? You can't just go in there and say, I'm shutting you down because you're not following the rules. Well, first of all, when we started this company, there were no rules. We followed every single rule, right? You're changing the rules mainstream, halfway through the game. Okay? I've heard where the public health has gone into bars and restaurants and taken their property away from them.
Unbelievable.
You know?
It's theft.
Yeah, it is. Because that's inventory that they've paid for.
Yeah.
And so, the government is literally going in, taking property out of there, and it is theft, right? In those situations, I truly believe that those bureaucrats and those people that were doing that decision, they should be held liable because it is theft,
Yep.
right? So I am going to make sure that the power of the bureaucrats gets lessened because
Excellent.
they go out of control, okay?
Absolutely.
And then they have this wall of protection. They say, well, we're just doing what we thought we should be doing.
Just doing our job, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. And there's ways to do that. Now, we have to modify and adjust, right? We have to make sure that, just like they're doing right now, right, with the police officers. Think about it, right? Right now, Mike, I've talked to a lot of law enforcement agencies, and because of the rules that they're putting on play, a lot of the officers are unsure what laws they should try to enforce and what laws they shouldn't try to enforce.
Oh, I imagine.
Right?
Yeah.
And so with the bureaucrats, we got to ask them, why are you doing this? Help us understand what is the outcome. I'll give you a perfect example. I was a director of SBA. And I had a small company call me and say, Greg, we have a problem. I said, what's that? They said, you need to come out and visit us because I can't show you over the phone. So, okay. It was a motorcycle shop. He's like, Congress just passed this legislation, said that there is no one can bring in lead-based paint, okay, in any of the products. I said, see those little mini bikes that we sell for 3-year-olds and 6-year-olds? I said, yeah. The tanks are painted.
So when that mini bike arrives in the crate, that's illegal.
Yeah.
They're violating the law.
Yeah, because it's got lead-based paint.
Which I'm sure the manufacturer has gone through
Right.
to enormous lengths to make sure that lead-based paint
Well, it comes
isn't
from
going
China,
anywhere.
right?
Well, that too.
Yeah, And so they said, Greg, do you really think a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old is going to
Start sanding this thing.
Yeah, lick the tank?
Yeah.
And so we got to use common sense.
Yeah.
Right? And all these restrictions, right? What are we trying to achieve? And is it actually achieving it? To your point.
Yeah.
Other states took a totally different approach, and the numbers are the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Virtually identical, and if you really want to scrutinize, you could make the case that they're slightly better.
Right. So a governor needs to look at things in their totality. And I don't believe Governor Polis has that ability. I don't believe he's got the ability to look at things.
He looks at things through one lens,
Yes.
and that is a statist progressive lens.
Yeah.
Because he believes in his heart that is the best.
Look,
that once they achieve their dystopia, and government controls every aspect of your life and is the moral authority over everything you do, then it's going to be a better place.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2022, the people again are going to decide who is the best qualified individual to be the governor. Right? And the governor is going to try to explain all the mistakes and all the things that he did and why it was in the betterment of Colorado.
Oh, he's going to say he did a wonderful job.
Right. And I'm going to be the one that's going to be reminding everybody, think about what he's telling you.
Yeah.
And is this truly true? He likes to say, follow the science. Then I think he would say, let's follow the numbers. Yeah. And if our economy went down the tank because of what he did, right? And our employment went through the ceiling, and our suicide rates went through the ceiling, and crime has gone up.
That's on him. If that happens on his watch,
he's responsible.
He owns it.
Right?
I agree.
Yep. Look at it. I'm hearing now. The Denver Post just released a story that the legislature is going to spend $1 million to put a permanent fence around the Capitol in downtown Denver.
Well, why not? You got to follow Pelosi's lead, right? I mean, Polis and Pelosi are actually friends. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they hang out with each other.
Think about that. And so, because he couldn't protect the people's house and allowed graffiti and all that to happen.
Which he did allow and could have stopped.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He allowed it.
Absolutely.
No one can say he didn't.
Yep.
Right? And now they want to build a fence around the people's house.
We can't allow that.
So what does that tell you about their mindset? They're sending a message, and people better start listening with the message that they're sending.
I think a lot of it still goes to the propaganda that we're talking about, though. They want to scare people, they want to control people, they want to use these fear tactics, and they see that it's working.
Right.
And we need to. That's one of the things when you say we need to wake up.
Right.
That's one of the things we need to become awakened to.
Right.
I have a friend, Shauna Morse. She owns Kickin' Wings over in Blue Ridge.
Okay.
Do you know Shauna? Have
you
heard her story?
I went over there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went over there probably 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And
she physically cannot wear a mask.
I know.
And it's an actual, real physical impairment that she has. She has very good reason for it. It's well documented. Mm-hmm. She has hundreds of pages of diagnoses from doctors. And yet she has been threatened by the Jefferson County Health Department at least once, and I think she's literally in fear every day that they're going to show up again. And on the Colorado.gov website, on the Jefferson County website, there are clear exemptions laid out.
Yep.
Do you know what they told her? They don't care.
See? Think about that.
Yeah.
They're not even willing to follow their own rules.
That's right.
I gave her a copy of the letter from the attorney of Weld County, okay, on his position as to why these executive orders, one, are not constitutional under the state of Colorado, right? So she could have more authority to say, look, here's another opinion from a county attorney telling their county commissioners, we can challenge this, right? But she's got medical documentation. And here's the thing. These guys forget about the HIPAA law.
Oh, yeah. It's out the window.
Yeah. The HIPAA law is like, you can't be asking people about their medical conditions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit their narrative. And it doesn't fit their objective. So they throw everything out the door, right?
Yep.
And even saying, we don't care what our rules say. We don't care what's on the website.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They literally told her, we don't care. We want you to do it. Just wear a mask anyway. Just wear a mask.
Right.
Why can't you just do it?
Yeah.
She really can't. Maybe she could for 10, 15 minutes at a time. But between the restricted breathing and the panic attacks, I don't know if you know what she went through, and it's not my place to say on a show, but
Right.
she has very good reason for
Yes.
not wearing a mask.
Look.
And I would never ask somebody like her to wear a mask. And I'm okay with everybody out there who wants to wear a mask. Man,
I'm
knock
with you.
yourself out.
Yeah. You know what?
I have
Again,
no problem with it.
if you want to wear a mask,
Yep.
who are we to say you shouldn't?
Yes.
Right?
Do it.
Right.
If it makes you feel better, if it makes your grandma feel better about visiting her, if it makes your daughter feel better about visiting the grandkids, put it on.
Yep.
But it's a personal choice.
Right.
Greg, I really appreciate your time. You're going to need some money to win this thing.
I am.
How do we help? What's the website? Where do we go?
You go to Lopez2022.com, right? Make a donation and investment in our campaign. It really doesn't matter how much. A lot of people are thinking, well, I got to write a $500 check or a $400. No. You know what? If you can do $20, you can do it every month if you want to. If you want to do $10 every month, okay?
And it really does help.
It really does. Yeah. Look, it cost me, 94 cents a vote in the primary, okay?
Is that right?
Yeah. That's how well I used my money.
In a state of 5.8 million, and how many registered voters?
Yeah, 3.2 million.
Okay.
Right, okay? And so it's a matter of how you use your money. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Mike. I am very, very grateful when people make a contribution to my campaign. And I hope you will, But at the end of the day, if they give me $10, that's hard-earned money.
Yeah.
That they sacrifice for. I don't treat it lightly. Every dollar is important to me. I know where I come from.
Are you looking to do radio, TV,
Yes.
everything you can do to get the message out?
But here's the thing. Our campaign will be successful through word of mouth, okay? A word of mouth campaign, no one can...
No, I agree. I think you need the grassroots.
Yep.
I think it's the only way you win.
We'll do radio, we'll do TV.
Right now, there's Lori Clark, you, and Benjamin Hussman.
Right.
And then, so we're just waiting to see who the GOP throws in there.
Right.
And it's going to be Beaupre, Brockler, Buck,
Yeah.
maybe Corey Gardner.
Yeah, you never know. Look.
And I like all of those guys. I don't want them to run.
No.
Stay out of it.
Look.
Honestly, their time is up. Buck's doing a good job over there as chairman. Ken Buck, you ought to get behind Greg Lopez is what you ought to do. You want to help Colorado. But the name of the website again?
It's Lopez2022.com.
Okay.
Yep.
And, knock on doors, volunteer, send some money.
Yeah. We can get this done, guys. We can make Governor Polis a one-term governor. And it's not going to be about the money. We need money. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm looking to raise $3 million. He's going to spend $35, whatever he needs to spend to stay in office. But he can't buy the votes, okay? And for me, it's been making sure that I take 18% of the Democratic vote. And Mike, think about it. You put my picture.
Do you? You mentioned that figure before.
Right.
Do you need that much of the
Yes.
Democratic vote? That's 1 in 5 Democrat voters.
Well, there's 1.1 million. Yes. Okay. Now, there are 666,000. Okay, voting age Latinos in the state.
That's a big voting block.
It is.
Are they going to vote for you?
Yes.
Okay.
They are. Why? Because they're conservative. Why? Because we have the same values that they have.
Do you need to educate them on that, or
Yes.
are they already?
They're starting.
waking up?
They're starting to wake up. Okay.
And when I say that, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's just that traditionally, like you said, you thought you were a Democrat
exactly.
until you
I
realized
studied it, right.
what the policy differences were and what the values differences were.
Right. And look, we got to go back to the.
By the way,
core.
my father-in-law was a long-time Democrat, and now he's the most conservative guy I know. Because and he's one of these guys that the Democrat Party left him. He didn't leave the Democrat Party, and there's some truth to that.
Yeah, there is.
This isn't your grandpa's Democrat Party, guys.
No.
This is a radical left statist party that wants to control every aspect of your life.
Right.
And they just think that you'll be a much better subject once they get that done.
Right. I'm a firm believer in the people. Okay? The people do have the power. If the people want to take back Colorado and stop it from becoming California and bring back good liberties and freedoms, okay, so that we can all live the American dream, we can get that done. Because I'll remind everyone, we will only have as much freedom as we're willing to fight for. And if we're not willing to fight for it, they're going to take it away from us.
Yeah.
And it's happening every day.
How successful has the left been? I'm going to let you go get some corned beef and cabbage soon. But how successful has the left been in demonizing the right? If you are a conservative, you're obviously a racist. You're obviously a bigot. You're obviously, a terrible person. That's the narrative. It seems that, I don't know if more people are buying it or if it's just more, woke millennials that are buying it. But man, the propaganda seems to be working on people. And I tell you, true blue conservatives are the least racist, least bigoted people that I've ever known.
That's true.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't know, and I have a place in western Nebraska, Lake McConaughey, farm country, cattle country. These are the most conservative folks in the world and the nicest folks, salt of the earth. I mean it. They don't have a mean bone in their body.
Right.
So we gotta fight that narrative. It's nonsense.
It is. But here's the deal. What we're hearing is the minority voices. We're not hearing the majority. But to your point, it sounds like everybody believes this, right?
Yeah.
Because that's all we hear, right? And it's not until we counter that voice, and I'm going to be countering it. They really can't call me a racist. They can try.
Oh, they'll try.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
No,
Clarence Thomas is a racist, right?
They'll try, right?
Yeah.
But we have to stand tall and say, really?
Yeah.
How dare you call me a racist when you have no idea who I am or anything like that? We must stop the bullying.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're bullies.
Well, you're out there working every day.
Yep.
I'm following your campaign. You're spreading that message.
Yep.
You're clearly not a racist. It's funny to say.
It is. Look, you know what? And here's the thing. People are tired of the name calling.
Yeah. They are.
People are tired of seeing good people try to tear each other down. Right? They want statesmen. They want people that can provide them and give them the facts.
Yes, sir.
Right? And they want solutions to problems. Right? They recognize that, you know what? There's so much going on. I tell people, government is like a Rubik's Cube. Okay? Your goal is to try to put everything in place so it functions well. But anytime you shift, it shifts something else. Anytime you move something, it's going to move something else. So you must always look at your decisions in the totality.
Yeah, because to your point, a lot of moving parts.
Yes, right.
Yeah, one decision affects.
And this is not
like Governor Pelos's bonehead decision to have a meet out day.
Yeah.
Did you really think that through, Governor?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he wants to, fast track the introduction of the wolf. Why? The legislature and the people said, yeah, bring it in at a certain time.
I have to be honest, I'm pretty agnostic on that just because I don't really know whether it's a good decision or not. But I do know that they're hell-bent on it for some reason, and it seems like that it's not very well thought out.
But here, listen to this, Mike. His boss, the people, said, you can bring in the wolf in this year. They didn't say, you have the right to bring it in before we tell you to. I mean, if you had an employee tell you, right, you said, hey, I need you to do this, right, and I need it done by next week, and they say, well, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing now, and I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. No, I want you to do some other things first.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what people forget.
Yeah.
This is not a popularity contest. When they vote for governor and they vote for any elected office, we must get back to doing real interviews. Not just saying, well, his name is the one I hear. Well, that doesn't mean he's qualified. Doesn't mean that they really have the skill sets.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I think you have to talk to the people,
Yep.
and I think that's what you're doing.
Right.
And I'm behind you,
Thanks. I appreciate it.
and I hope it works.
It will.
And-
Look, we're going to get it done. There's no doubt in my mind that we're not going to get it done because the people are waking up, and I am the voice that is going to get us back to make sure we get Colorado and make Colorado great again from that standpoint, because there's too many voices out there and we're not pushing back, you know? And I have nothing to gain outside of me feeling that we are protecting the families of 64 counties. And that's what it's all about.
All right. Greg Lopez, thank you
pleasure.
for coming. I
Oh, you
really
bet, man.
appreciate it. It was great
Appreciate
to
it.
talk to you.
Yeah.
And best of luck out there on the campaign
Thank
trail.
you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.